Okay, well, good evening, everybody. Here we are, and we are ready to go live for you. And so I'm Lindsay, and this is
Steve, hello.
Steve. Yes, we are friends that like dark ways stuff. Will is Ratman.
Oh
Hello.
no, we know his true identity now. he's
We're
not
so
he's not Dr. Hot Dog PhD. He's not Rat Man, he's Will Mortimer.
we are glad to see you. So Steve, let's
Yes.
just remind everybody why we're doing this, okay?
Sure. Oh,
So,
you're reminding that. I thought you're throwing to
yes,
me. You remind him.
yeah, we're all remind. I have the three reasons we said we're doing it.
Okay.
We are waiting for these creators' next series to come out, whether it's Till, Something is Killing the Children.
Mm-hmm.
We want to appreciate their development as artists, and we want to grow our community and be able to talk with other people that like that stuff too. Last time we've done two lives so far. Actually, we
Right.
did their first film, which was The Silence.
Mm-hmm.
We have done a live interview with an 1899 cast member, Jonathan Walrus. That was
That was
awesome.
fun. Yeah, he's supposed to be here too. He said he was going to be here. Where's he at?
He is on a different time zone, Steve. So
Oh, that's
yeah,
right. He's probably in bed right. That's right. No, he's like having his morning coffee right now, I
morning
think.
coffee.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, and okay, so now we're on their second feature length film, which is called Who Am I? Kein System Sicher. I can't speak German,
Hey.
but that means no system is safe.
Mm-hmm.
I thought we would be like, okay, are there any updates from the Dark Waves community? What updates do we have, Steve?
Zero, zilch. There is nothing. I guess they're still working on something that's killing the children that hasn't been canceled yet.
Yeah.
He's got to do something. I mean, every time I see, there's nothing, Lindsay. Not since last February. Have
Mm-hmm.
you? Have
Mm-hmm.
you? I mean, you don't have anything either, right?
You remember how we something came up recently and you're like, just today I got an update. And I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, absolutely. I was kind of hoping that might happen for us today. And it's like, okay, we get a beautiful update the day of our live. That would be wonderful if all of a
Sure,
sudden
sure.
there were like photos from production or something. But no, no updates. But so we're going to continue on our journey of watching them develop as artists. So this movie, Who Am I? I'm going to do a brief summary and then Steve's going to talk about some production stuff for us.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is this movie about? In Berlin, Benjamin Engel sits in an interrogation room waiting to meet Hanne Lindberg, head of Cyber Division of Europol, not Interpol, Europol. He claims to go ahead, sorry.
Does that exist, or is that just something made up for the movie?
I bet it does exist. That I didn't do that research, Steve.
I didn't think about it till just now.
I've got 3 paragraphs to read, so you could look that up maybe right now.
Okay.
Okay. Claims to have information about a criminal organization of hackers named Friends,
Friends.
a notorious hacking group of 4 members connected to the Russian cyber mafia, and MRX, an infamous hacker known on Darknet. If she wants to catch them, she needs to listen to his story. Benjamin tells her about a childhood where he felt invisible. He made this his superpower, though, and turned to the internet as the place he could shine. He meets his hacking hero, MRX, whose identity no one knows and who can hack into any system. Benjamin works as a pizza delivery boy and meets Marie, the girl of his dreams. After getting caught for trying to steal test questions for Marie, he gets caught and sentenced to community service where he meets Max, Stefan, and Paul. They decide to form their own hacking group called Clowns Laughing at You, or CLAY, and they use Benjamin's house as a base of operations. They cause general mayhem around Berlin in a form of pranking, becoming popular around social media. However, when Max discovers that MRX mocks them on the dark web as being amateurs, he spurs on the group to fry bigger and riskier fish. Benjamin may just be over his head. Can Benjamin convince Hanne to help him? What is the truth about Clay, Friends, MRX, and Benjamin? So, Steve, did you get that Europol facts there?
Yeah, Europol is a thing with a big old website, and they're tracking me now that I've typed it into my browser. They're like, "Oh, there's an American looking at us." But yeah, that's actually a real thing. The European Union Agency for Law Enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's a step
Awesome.
above Interpol. Maybe, yeah, and maybe Interpol is like a smaller under the umbrella of Europol.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
All right. Well, this is where I turn to you, Steve. And
hmm,
what can you tell us about the production
yeah.
and what was going on for Bo and Jantje from 2012 until 2014? So from the silence until Who Am I?
I think they were just kind of hanging out on the couch, just kind of doing their thing, having breakfast. When I looked up Baran Bo Odar, the very first thing in his credits is it says, Baran Bo Odar, director. His film Who Am I reached the top of German cinema charts and was nominated for a German Film Award for Best Fiction Feature. Best Screenplay by Jantje Friese in 2015, and Odar directed and co-wrote the film with Friese. So this is like the first thing on his credit page, not Dark, but this, which I thought was kind of interesting. Um, this movie was scored by a band called Boys Noise. Like, I guess that's just maybe just a producer that just does the soundscapes. But the cool song is not Muse. I thought that was Muse doing that song that we heard. How does it feel? That one. That's Royal Blood does
Mhm,
that, and that's a fantastic song. But anyway, this film premiered in the Contemporary World Cinema in 2014, screened at the European Union Film Festival. I bet if you're a European critic, you'd probably be there. This won 3 German movie awards and the Bambi for the best German film. Now, through this film, Netflix became aware of Friese and Odar and offered them to make a series of this movie.
mhm,
Instead, they jointly developed the first German Netflix series, Dark, which premiered in December of 2017. Smart move. Because I think that if they had made a Who Am I series, it probably would have flashed in the pan and come and gone, and would have been one of many shows similar to it.
mhm,
So that's just my personal opinion. Let me get back to this. This movie was filmed in Berlin. Um, let's see. This project landed on Odar. A lot of what I'm going to say here is direct quotes from the man himself, because I got an interview from 2015, a German interview, which I was able to translate very
mhm.
easily through the computer. It was it was neat.
Yeah.
Um, the project landed on Odar's computer via production company Weidman and Berg. Having gotten inspiration, Odar pitched and won and co-wrote with his wife, Jantje Friese. She also co-wrote The Silence. And Odar explains, I'm interested in normal, insignificant people suddenly getting into a situation and becoming heroes or anti-heroes. I like dark stories. I don't like happy endings. Unsurprisingly, given his grounding in, oh, this is like what the writer said. Unsurprisingly, given his grounding in commercials and music videos, Odar developed his characters in a very Hollywood like way. My wife is a big fan of Enneagrams, developing a psychology and reducing the figures to archetypes. When you have a new archetype, you get the constellation of the characters, which is standard in Hollywood. We don't write their diaries, but we do try to understand them at a basic level. What do they want? What is their greatest flaw? That gets us to the story, and from there we write the film. He says he begins the process with storyboards. I watched the Fight Club DVD a long time ago, and that's exactly how they did Fight Club, was like with storyboards. That's how David Fincher did that. So he made a comic book first, and then he like made a film version of the comic book he created. Odar did the exact same thing. He says, digging deeper into Odar's working methods, sometimes I write for particular actors. Other times I'm open. Casting is very important because you need to trust them with the space to interpret and act that character. I have a clear idea of what I want, but if I don't try to give them the space to work, then we are all limited. Talking about working with actors. And here is my last paragraph. When this was released in Germany, um, it topped the German charts the first weekend. It says, "Oh, this is upcoming." Okay, this is interesting. I'm sorry, I misread that paragraph. This is a paragraph talking about what's coming up next for him as of 2015, which I thought was
Mhm.
very interesting.
Mhm.
He says there is a movie called Bad Girls, an action comedy with the working title. Odar explains the script is well on the way, and we hope to get a film next year. I'm not sure that ever happened. I have The Hunt with Universal, a feature film crime drama. He continues. Um, I wonder if that one became the Jamie Foxx one, because I guess we got to watch that one next, right? The Jamie Foxx movie. I can't
I
remember what
was
it's called.
wondering about that. I was wondering if we should, even though I'm kind of like, it seems like an outlier, but
I
if we're
think
going to be
that's
completionists, yeah, go ahead.
I think that's the one. They changed the title of it because they're talking about The Hunt by Universal. And then he
Mm.
says, for Channel 4, I'm doing a crime drama called Dark. What is it about? It's about friendship. That's what Dark is about.
Is
That
that
was
what
his,
he said? It's about
that's all the
friendship.
quote says. It's about friendship. And
Mm.
then he just talks about his who influenced him making this movie, and he lists Blade Runner and Michael Mann's Heat. And he
Mm.
said those were the films that he in Fight Club. He not doesn't talk in this interview, but another interview which I didn't pull quotes from. He talks about Fight Club and how much it influenced him, and how the film is a nod to Fight Club, basically.
Right. So I have a few facts to add to what you've done, which was a great job. But you mentioned that he was approached by these producers and that they helped him get the stuff on Dark. That is
Mhm.
true, but he actually knew them from film school. Their names are Quirenberg, starts with a Q, Q-U-I, Quirenberg, Max Weideman, and Justina Muisch, Muesch. So these three were future producers of Dark. So it is like they made this connection, made this movie, and that helped definitely. We know it got them Dark. But I thought it was interesting that they knew each other from film school. So it is so often about who you know.
Exactly. Yeah, they all went to a good school and hooked up with each other. Yeah.
And they gave him 2 weeks to come up with a pitch. So, but they kind of approached him. They said, "We want to make a movie about hackers." And then they said, but he got to make the pitch for what the story exactly would be about. But they
Okay.
were it was kind of a tennis match where they were like, "We want to do this," and he came back with an idea. So it wasn't it wasn't necessarily his idea to make a movie about hackers. He was
Right.
approached with
All
that
right.
idea and he ran with it and made the movie about hackers that he thought would be interesting.
So what I'm seeing in my head is like some rich German um guy who likes films or whatever, and he's puffing a
Mhm.
cigar. I want to make a film about hackers. Somebody get me a writer. I'm gonna make a film about hackers. And that's how this came about.
Well, since he knew them from film school, I bet the conversation might have been with a
Hey
younger
Baron.
person,
Hey
but
Baron.
he wanted to avoid the trap of being he thinks kind of hacking movies can be boring sometimes where it's like just typing, like the
Sure,
cat,
sure, sure, sure.
the cat like banging the keyboard. So that's how he came up with the device of showing the hacking in the subway, that he wanted to make it sort of
Yeah, yeah.
another dimension
A
of the
visual
story and
device.
not yeah,
Yeah.
not just show people like typing at a computer. um, the music, you mentioned many of the people on the soundtrack, but the score was done by Michael Kamm, Kamm. He also
Oh,
did the music for The Silence, so the same composer. And he
I thought
did
okay.
he did music for Sleepless as well. But something happened after that because they went on to Ben Frost and have never gone back. So, um, let's hope it all ended well,
I'm sure it
between
did. I mean, people work with different people, and I don't know.
Mhm.
Maybe I'll meet a Ben Frost one day and I'll be like, Lindsay, sorry, I'm working with Ben Frost now.
And I'll be like, yeah, I'll be writing you. So what's going on now, Steve? And you're like, oh, Ben and I are doing great things without you.
Yeah,
So
we're working on our next thing, which is like nobody knows for a year and a half anything about it. No news.
the only other production thing note I have that I thought was interesting is in 2014, Warner Brothers had struck a deal to remake the film. This is still on their Wikipedia page. David Goyer is set to direct the film. The script will be written by, the film will be produced by, but yet if you go to those people's page, it says nothing about that. So I'm guessing that page just never got updated. And so it was kind of, I was like, it's just typical that, because there was a movie, that a really great horror movie that was called Speak No Evil, that was just put out. I probably already complained to you about it, but it was just put out in 2021, I think, and there's already going to be an American remake this year, which is ridiculous because the movie isn't that old, but a big American studio thinks it needs to remake that film. So this movie did pretty well. So Warner Brothers is like, we're gonna make an English language version now.
Right.
You know?
I mean, I don't know. I can't blame them for that. If they see like if a studio sees another, film having success, but it can't translate quite to their audience because it talks about stuff like Europol and like all these European references. I don't know. I kind of don't have issue with that too much, especially something like this, which is like just a brand new property. It's not like they would take the American version and bastardize it because it's, I guess I have different feelings about that. I think that would have been neat to have been able to compare the American and German versions of it. Bye, Ratman.
See you later. But anybody who is still, we do have some people on. So if you have an opinion, let us know. What do you think? Would you want to see an English language remake of Who Am I?
And also,
we'd love to know.
You were talking about how the that website was kind of led you nowhere. I looked at the Who Am I official website and it just led me to Sony.com. And and then I went on that website, I typed into their search feature, Who Am I? And it was buried like 4 pages in. So I was like, this is not a very good website link they have here for their movie.
Yeah. All right. Overall thoughts about the film, and did it remind you of any other movies or shows?
I mean, obviously Fight Club. There was I counted, here's all the different Fight Club nods I noticed. The dumpster scene when Max jumped in the dumpster. The chemical scene when they were wearing the chemical suits and they were like in the kitchen and they were burning stuff with acid. The poster of Fight Club, obviously. The multiple personalities, the fast clips. This is 5 now. The fast clips of single frame of characters in the background happens once when they're in the car at the very end with Hanne. It happens when Max is kissing Marie. You see a quick flash of like another person. So yes, it's littered with Fight Club references. And this reminded me obviously Mr. Robot because that's what the internet told me it reminded me of, so I agreed. And then Hackers as well as another obvious reference. How about you?
But you've seen Mr. Robot, correct?
Yes, I have.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely.
Comparison?
Yes, wholeheartedly.
I thought about how much I didn't watch all of Mr. Robot. I think I watched all of the first season. I watched either all or most of the second season. And then I might have lost my access to it for whatever reason. But I think it maybe part of it used to be on Netflix and they had only gone so far.
It shifts around. Yeah.
But
I don't know why.
a lot of that, I mean, I can agree with it because it's like not just about hacking, but a lot of it is him like showing what he knows, that he understands people, and because he has access to information, he can see that, he can kind of analyze the person. So
Yes.
I could definitely see that one. I also thought it reminded me quite a bit of Fall of the House of Usher. in that that starts with a cop or a district attorney who really has been looking for a way to catch this family forever.
Okay.
And he gets
Okay.
invited to a house and he keeps, wanting to just get to the point. Tell me what it is I want to know. And they're like, well, first you have to listen to 5 hours of me telling you about my life story before you get to that. So it's kind of the
I can see that.
overeager, law enforcement individual being kind of wooed in with this story, and they don't want to listen, but they sort of can't help themselves because they have been wanting to know for so long what they didn't know. So that kind of reminded me of that in that way.
Oh, then of course you got the magic
Yeah.
trick thing. We got a
Yes.
little bit of Mickle in there. And anybody who saw it too, I hope it didn't go past anybody's head that he had like 4 sugar cubes in his hand and the 4 became 1. So it's like the 4 sugar cubes represent like Paul, Stefan, Max, and himself. And then he
Oh,
turns
Steve, are you
them
gonna
all into himself. That's what that represents.
you're gonna explain it all to
I'm so smart.
But yeah, there's probably other shows. I guess some of the style of it reminded me of that kind of stylish 90s film. Like there's some weird techniques that, were never part of Dark, when he's like doing trash pickup and they're showing a first person POV of him picking up trash with a claw, and
Right.
I'm like, I don't understand this shot exactly.
There were a lot of shots like that, there was a couple under subway, like not under subway, but like imagine like if you're in New York City and you were down below one of those sewer grates and you were looking up at the street. They would do those shots sometimes of the guys walking by, and yeah, no shot lasted longer than like 3 seconds. It was very frenetic, which is very unusual for this crew because usually their stuff, like the silence, especially and dark, very long, lingering shots. And it doesn't cut around quite so much. And here is just cut, cut, cut. Um, it's for this generation. The kids love it. Kids love it.
But for this, also with, you mentioned with Fight Club, I mean, the character Tom Schilling that played Benjamin, he looks so much like Edward Norton.
Yeah.
It's almost ridiculous how much he resembles him. So it definitely reminded me of that movie. I don't know that I have other shows. There probably are many that I could name if I thought about movies about hacking, and just also the whole, I guess in a way, Social Network, with kind of the person
The
who feels
movie.
invisible trying to bring himself to seem, to be important. I mean, it's not a perfect match, but some of that where you're a nerd who's out of the limelight and you're sort of trying to prove to yourself that you matter by making this wonderful thing and needing help to do it.
Right.
Although I will say, I feel like his band of friends was a lot nicer than ends up
the Winklevoss twins or whatever.
Yeah, the guys end up being a lot nicer than you think. But in Mr. Robot, I was trying to remember, there is a scene in one of the first seasons, there's a scene where he plants a virus at his work, and when he presses the button, there's like a phrase that keeps repeating on the screen. And I was like, was it "No system is safe"? Is that a phrase that is part of programming that everybody knows? Or did it come from this movie?
So. Yeah, I don't know. I can't answer that honestly. That's not the phrase that was in Mr. Robot, though. I don't remember what it was.
So, okay, going back to this being a Bo and Jantje movie, though, did you recognize any favorite tropes of theirs that cross? We now have additions to our language. We have the silence, we have dark, we have 1899. So we now have 3 shows we can look at. So were there any things that struck you as being, oh, I can tell that that's something I recognize from their thought process or the way they do things.
I never would have thought this was a Bo and Yante movie. I mean, of course, I would have seen Peter and I would have seen Waller and I would have
Mhm.
recognized them, but other than that, no. Like the magic trick, the the uttering these phrases repeatedly to give them significance, that's kind of like a dark. And I
Mhm.
mean, that's dark and 1899 and the silence. They have these phrases they keep saying over and over again to like lend the phrase power. Besides those few things, I didn't see much else in this that um I thought was like a signature of theirs. Now, did I miss anything though?
I had a couple things. It wasn't a huge list like we did with the silence,
Right.
but we had cops having affairs with their superior.
Oh, sure, sure. Okay. Yeah.
We had hacking. Hacking is a trope now because of Daniel in 1899.
Fair. Okay.
Even though it's one scene, it's kind of a noticeable thing that you remember from that.
Yeah.
Because I remember talking to Anthony a while about that because he's a big fan of Mr. Robot, and he said he really
Hmm.
liked that because of that.
Anthony would
Um,
probably like this movie then. Anybody like him?
superheroes in comic books come up in Dark.
Yeah, they play like a background role. Sure.
Yeah, it's not a huge part of it, but there's this idea of like I come from the future, and he got it from the comic book that Mickle does that
Right. That's right. Future
Inez
Boy or
brings him.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Future Boy. And there's the things in his room, the little figurines that are in his room,
Sure. Yeah.
the magic trick, people meeting in alleyways to smoke. Francisca and Magnus did that,
That's a
and
life
Max
thing. I'm
and
a lifelong smoker. That's a life thing. But yeah, you're right. He does
yeah.
portray that on film. That's right.
Your friend stealing your girl, maybe stealing your girl.
Mm, yeah, absolutely.
And then the one that was very hidden, but I had to make sure that I'd heard it is when there was a lot of the word bingo being used, right?
Yeah, that's right.
But the first um the first hack that Benjamin does in front of the group, he goes to that house and thinks it's their house and he gets all the lights to turn off.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When he does that, Max says jackpot.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a
Oh,
phrase that Bartosz says in Dark,
yep.
"Jackpot."
I
Eh,
didn't catch that.
but they say it weird because they're German, so they don't normally say stuff like that.
Yakpot. That's right. And
So
yeah, and
mhm,
Max kind of looks like Angel. I don't know, right?
mhm. Yes, yes, that's actually something I had that okay, that is another thing I had here,
Okay.
is the names, Steve. We're sort of doing the names. So this is again, we're not quite too dark yet, but there's hints of this. So we have Benjamin, which means son of the right hand. Benjamin Engel, which people are like angel. They keep saying, making fun of him and saying he's an angel.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's Max, and Max means the greatest.
Okay.
And then Paul is, of course, that's a Bible name, Paul, and he said it means small or humble. And Paul was kind
Yeah,
of
very humble.
the more humble. And then Stefan means crown.
That's
So
me, the king.
he was so crazy. So yeah, the names were definitely like because okay, Baran Bo Odar directed it, but Jantje did the writing. So
Right.
this is her
Yes.
little. She was much more involved in this than the other production.
I
So
didn't think about the
anybody in the audience, go ahead, Steve. I'm sorry to cut you
I
off.
was
I was
gonna
just saying
say
anybody. Go ahead, you.
I'm gonna talk now. I like the way that you analyzed their names. That made a lot of sense. Now, can you go a little further with that? How about Marie? Is that like a Mary, like
Yes.
perhaps?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. We got it all figured. I like Max too, not just because what did you say it means actually?
The greatest.
The greatest. I was thinking Max being like looking maximum, take things to the maximum. And he was definitely like a high powered dude that liked to do that.
Yeah, because Max can be Maximus, it can be Maximilian. So it's different.
Maximilian.
Yeah, I love the name Maximilian. It's just a cool name. But
Yeah.
what I was gonna say, if we have viewers that have watched this movie and they can think of other things we didn't catch that are similar to Dark or 1899, go ahead and put those in the chat. All right, let's talk about our characters, and we can probably talk about all of them briefly, but who were your
Yeah.
favorites?
I did like Paul. I put him first. Because he was like humble and like didn't like all their flashy crap and was like, scale it back, guys. I like that. I liked Hannah, the how do you say her name? I guess Han, the
Hanne
officer.
Lindberg, yeah.
Yeah, the cop that was like trying to get her reputation back, and she ended up helping him out. And Benjamin, of course, I'm a sucker for the lead role, so
Mhm.
I'll take the popular guy. I think he did a good job. And Marie with her silly talk, she was always talking silly and saying weird stuff. And when I watched the wrong dub, I watched a different dub of this movie, and like it just had the generated subtitles that YouTube provided, and then they would be translated from German to English. So it was like double bad. So if somebody said if like the YouTube algorithm picked up the wrong word, it would then translate the wrong word. So Marie was talking like the version I was watching, just total gibberish. Like I could not understand nothing she said made sense. And then when I saw the correct version, I was like, well, she's kind of the same way. I can kind of see how they got that wrong because she is kind of silly talking about rainbows and secret meetings and stuff. So yeah, she was compelling. So yeah, I just named, four of the main characters. Who's left? Who did you like, Lindsay?
I thought they were all pretty interesting, but Stefan, he was fun. He was,
Yeah.
and of course, that's our Timo from the Silent. So it was fun to see him come back around and play.
Did not recognize him. Okay.
Yeah, well, I thought he was Peter at first. Peter from Dark. But Peter
Oh,
shows up later and he's kind of more of the square. He's helping the detective. But I
okay.
was like, is that guy Peter? But no, that was Timo from the Silence. Wotan Wilkie Mooring is his name.
Yeah, I
So
didn't
he was just
recognize him because I saw you said something about Tito, and I was like, did I miss something? I didn't really question it, but now I am. I'm like, holy cow. I think that he would have made a really good Noah, like Stefan, because he kind of has
Mhm,
like that same look, that same vibe that the actor that Noah has too. So I could see him doing Noah.
mhm.
Anyway,
And I thought it was neat how they had Max, his Elias Embarracked. I thought it was neat how, you kind of think it could go one way and he's gonna be a jerk, but he actually wasn't that
sure.
much of a jerk. So
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Just
yeah,
very
he did.
impulsive.
Yeah, he did a good job. Yeah, I thought Hanne Lindberg, she was striking as a character, and I'm kind of surprised. Maybe she just does movies. It was like she would have been good, I think, on Dark or 1899. In fact, I thought at first maybe um she was the mother, the really religious mother. I thought that might have been
Oh,
her with the blonde hair.
uh-huh,
I
sure.
was like, "Oh, she must have been in something else before," and she has, but all German films. Um, and then, of course, it was nice to see Peter, and then Wohler plays a complete jerk.
Hmm.
Oscar is the character's name, who's
Yeah, total
the
ass.
Leopold Hornung. But what was interesting about when I saw him on a press tour, and I didn't realize how tall he is. Wohler is very tall.
He looks tall in this film. He towers over everybody else. In Dark, he doesn't look tall. I think because he's next
Mhm,
to Ulrich, and Ulrich is a super tall dude. So maybe the two of them next to each other makes Waller look smaller.
mhm.
Waller smaller. Mm.
Yeah,
But
but,
I was
go ahead.
disappointed in both our Dark boys though, because I didn't really like either one of their characters too much in this movie. So I was a little disappointed by that. And talking about who could play who, because I know that's kind of like next in our list here. I
Mhm,
gotta say, like I said the same thing about Hannah. I was like, that actress could easily have played Katerina or Claudia. She could have been a step in for either one of those and would have been very compelling as either one of those characters.
Hmm. I could see her playing. I don't know if I could see her playing Katerina, but definitely Claudia because of just how, you know, Claudia is such a kind of ice princess. She doesn't really show much emotion on her face. She seems
Hmm.
really shut down, um and this cop was definitely the same thing. I mean, that guy, poor Martin Bomer is the character who is our Peter, and he kept trying to talk to her, and she's just like gives him nothing, absolutely nothing on her face the whole time.
That's
But
right.
yeah,
Yep.
but yeah, she was striking. I mean, her looks were striking, so I could see her being wanting her for many things. So, but yeah, who would have done well in Dark or 1899? I don't know. I don't know. I mean,
I've already named mine. I said Stefan is
yeah.
Noah, Hane, and then but the last one, I thought the actress who played Marie, I thought she was pretty striking. I got to say, I could see her as like Hannah, perhaps, or maybe as her name escapes me, but she is Noah's sister um, in Dark.
Agnes.
Agnes. I could see her as Agnes or Hannah, a stand-in for one of those. I could see Marie playing a character in Dark.
Hmm. I don't know. I don't know.
You don't agree?
Yeah.
That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's like this was such, I guess, to me, that, you know, besides maybe Hane is the only, the I thought all of the actors did fine, but nobody really jumped off the page as being particularly memorable. There was the movie, the movie itself was not bad, but I wasn't like, these are impressive
Sure.
performances, and
Exactly.
with whereas with Dark, now, I mean, of course, we didn't get to know them that well, but in Dark, you really get invested so much in all the characters, so
Mhm.
you need a particular kind of, affect to be able to do that, and I'm just not sure. Um, Paul, the guy who played Paul, Antoine Mono is his name. Antoine
Uh-huh.
Mono. I think he was compelling, definitely, but I don't know what character I would have him play. Maybe he could have been. But Sauce Boss did such a good job, so I don't think we would want to replace Sauce Boss. But he,
Isaac Dentler. I was
yeah.
thinking he would play a good oh god, the guy who was the henchman for for the nuclear power plant and he drove the truck around and he had the two
Hmm.
kids. What was that guy's name? You know who I'm talking about, right?
Drove the truck around, and you mean Hannah's father?
No, not Hannah's father. He was the father.
Oh, Miss the guy, the redheaded boy
That's
who's
right, his dad. That's right, who
yeah,
lived in the trailer.
yeah.
Paul could have been a stand-in for him because they kind of have like the same like look and demeanor. So he could have easily been. I think he could have been him. Mm.
Yeah. Maybe.
But
That's true.
there was no Magnus in this film though.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
didn't
there was
see
no
any
Magnus.
Magnuses.
You know, Tom Schilling maybe could have played the Daniel role, I think, in 1899. Because I'm not just thinking about Dark, I'm thinking about
Oh
1899 too.
yeah, he would be great for Daniel because he kind of has that same like bewildered face, like, yeah.
Confused all the time.
Hmm.
Yeah. All right. Making techniques. We talked about some of this already.
Yeah.
But first person POV trash can picking.
That's a
uh
nod to Fight Club. They did the exact same thing in Fight Club where
yes.
there's a shot where he throws something in the trash can.
I noticed there were no overhead shots in this entire movie.
Exactly.
So
Yep.
there were some cityscape shots where they show the buildings, but no overhead shots, which is
Mm-mm.
Baron's, which is Bo's favorite. Um, I also thought the dialogue, some of the dialogue, which I know isn't a filmmaking technique, but it's a story element. some of the dialogue was again sort of darkish. That there's one moment that pulls all the strings together, a moment that changes everything. And then when Max meets him after that, the raid at the house, and he meets him on the subway, he says, I should have stayed in my seat, but between us there was an invisible thread.
Ariadne's thread. Okay.
Yeah, maybe it was. I didn't quite go that far, Steve, but which is, this was, when that happened, I was like, oh, is it going to be like Max is his other personality, just like Fight Club?
Yeah,
They
exactly.
really did
I was
set you
thinking that
up to
too. Yep.
believe that it was going to be that. And then a little bit of the colors. You could see hints of the color theory because we had Hanne is doing her interview in the blue shirt, right? She's sitting at the desk and she has this muted blue shirt.
Okay.
There's a scene where when the guys the last time they go to the building as a group, not when he goes by himself, they had a shot with yellow lockers, like bright yellow lockers, and then they had their red suits. So I was like, you have red, you have yellow, and you have blue
What
in
red
this
suits?
movie. When they go to the building and they're wearing the clown masks, the four of them are wearing red whatever you call those jumpsuits. Yeah.
Okay. And they were wearing blue jumpsuits at one point as well when they were doing their little hustle on the roof.
They were wearing blue jumpsuits. So they had all the colors. They just didn't wear their yellow jumpsuits at all.
Yeah, I mean, why not that color? I guess they wanted to, I don't know. Blue looks more muted, red stands out. Okay. I skipped over like a whole paragraph. So I think this is an appropriate time for me to go into this because we're talking about, the film stylistically and different things like that. I've already said I'm not really I don't really like this type of like frenetic filming, but I can see why they did it. Here's what I wrote about my overall thoughts, because I think we skipped that part, or maybe we haven't gotten to that part yet. In my notes, it's like way up high and I'm skipped over it.
Well, I asked, I think I asked you like overall thoughts, and it didn't remind you of anything. I asked those two questions together.
Well, I'm going to go back to that. I like the double twist ending thing we're talking about now, that they're setting you up to like believe that he and Max are the same. And then you're thinking that all four guys are the same. And then you're like thinking the same thing Hane's thinking, I thought that was neat. And I like the sugar cubes, the 4 representing the 1. Thought that was cool. But I did not like a few things about this movie too. I didn't like the strutting about, all the peacocking, all like the, I don't know, just the brash, over the top behavior, the middle fingers up, very tiresome. This is definitely aimed at teens. Aimed at kids, I think, or younger people. And I think this movie is like very unnecessarily overly cool. And I think if they had toned back the cool a little bit and made it less strutty, less peacocky, I think it would have been more enjoyable for adult viewers. But I think as it is, this is more like a movie for, like, for people in their 20s or whatever, who are like, I don't know. I just thought that whole like theme throughout it, that's another reason I didn't really think it reminded me of Dark or The Silence or 1899, because I didn't really feel that way towards any of those shows, but I did towards this. Like, it would just got on my nerves the way they were like just so carefree and just so cool, just like over the top cool. But I did like how they were like Robin Hood type hackers. Like they weren't um they weren't furthering themselves. They weren't getting rich. They just wanted to be noticed by the hacker community. They didn't hurt anybody. They could have stole stuff. They didn't steal anything. They would borrow things and they would like win things. But I'm in a situation right now where we're like, if I could hack, oh my God, I could be, this whole like automobile problem we're having right now would be solved in a second. I could get that promotion at work, no problem. Just get in there and hack it up. These guys aren't doing that kind of stuff. They're just having fun, partying and hacking. And maybe that's why like the big kids don't like them so much. because they're not doing damage. You're just like, here we are, we're doing our thing.
Mhm.
Um, but it's not damaging. I think they could be like white hats. And that's what I wrote down here too. They missed their opportunity to be like white hats at any kind of corporation like Europol. Europol would hire them in a second to like, test the security systems and like make a security system that can't be hacked. Who better person to do that than a hacker?
Mhm.
Um, so I don't know. These are like my overall thoughts of the film that I skipped over before. Aren't you glad I went into that?
No, I mean, I am. It's like it's good to stop and go. And I'm kind of glad in a way that you saved that to the end because um just if we'd said it at the beginning, then people might have been like, "Well, this movie sounds lousy. I'm going to tune out."
Yeah, it's not
Um
lousy. It's just, too cool, I guess.
yeah. I think to me, yeah, this I mean, this was very different than again, remember this wasn't his vision, his baby at the beginning. It was
Hmm.
somebody else's wanted to make a movie about
Right.
hackers, and he and Jantje made the hacker movie that they wanted to make. We're going to talk in a minute about social engineering, but you
Ah,
can
yeah.
tell that there's a little bit. This isn't just supposed to be a dumb hacker movie. It's supposed to be a movie about a person that felt like they were invisible and that nobody really noticed them,
I
and
like
they
that.
get taken into this little family, and that's what it is. I mean, you mentioned there's a acid scene where they're burning stuff with acid, but when that's happening, he's having a talk with
That's
Max, and
right.
they're making up,
Yep.
and Max is showing him like how much he cares, and even on the subway when you kind of think he's there to cause trouble, he notices he's bummed out about his grandmother. And so it's really kind of sweet that this
Yeah.
guy is
Okay.
feeling sort of by himself, and then he gets taken in by this group. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, fight the system and there's a lot of that sort of, let give a big middle finger up to the man and all that, which
Hmm.
seems very young and rebellious, but
Hmm.
I guess that the fact that they wanted to show that I think the the topic about internet security and hacking, when people think about that, they think about people trying to cause mayhem. And like you said, these guys weren't doing that. And then they talk about social engineering and how, you can have the safest system in the world, but the flaws are always with people. That's where the weaknesses
Sure.
are.
Right.
And so I guess that just shows, I don't know, a deeper level of thought about it than maybe other people would have brought to the table. Um, but I mean, Bo is really smart and Yantch is really smart. So I feel like even though this was more of a movie that I could see almost anybody enjoying. A lot of people complain about Dark because there's too much, not enough happen, there's not enough action. This was very fast paced, it was very stylish. So
Hmm.
it was definitely a little bit out of his scope because it seemed a little bit like he might have been making a movie that that would be more commercial, that would be
Absolutely.
better selling and more pleasing to the general crowd. So it's not quite as smart as some of his other stuff. So it doesn't quite appeal to us as much, but I feel like even within that box, he found a way to give it a little bit of an extra edge, which I appreciate.
Yeah. And plus, let's not give up the fact that you know, Bo and Yante are multi-layered people too. They're not just
Mhm.
the slow, thoughtful, deep thinking individuals. I'm thinking about like myself as an artist, Lindsay. The some of my music is like synthy, like out of tune. Some of my music is very pristine guitar driven stuff. With you, I'm doing more orchestratal, like with James, I'm doing like rap remixes, like just all over the place. And like which one do I do better? Which one is me? I don't know. I can't tell you. They all kind of are. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they look back at this film and it's different from the rest of their film, but it's part of them. And like you said, there were some intelligent choices that they made. They can always be proud of. And
Mm-hmm.
this won awards for them. And this is the first
Yeah.
thing in like his Wikipedia page. So, this is not a terrible thing. Just because
Yeah.
I think it's, the guys giving the middle fingers is silly doesn't mean it's terrible or anything, because it's
Yeah.
not terrible at all.
And this got us dark. So
It's got a what?
this got us dark. Like
Oh
this
yeah,
doing
that's
this
right.
movie is what it,
Directly.
yeah. All right, so let's talk about social engineering because I thought it was such a fascinating
Yeah,
topic.
you're right. Yeah.
Max says security. Everyone wants security. Security doesn't exist. Once you understand this, it's like you have the world served on a plate. The main vulnerability isn't in applications or servers. Man is the main security flaw, the most effective of all hacking methods, the great art of deceiving. Social engineering. Man is by default trusting and confiding. Agree or disagree, Steve?
Um, you know, Respect. How's that? I don't know if I agree or disagree, but like I pretty much do agree. Because that can be the biggest flaw. Now you can like find flaws within code and manipulate that. I know from experience you can do that. But yeah, it's this is what they do at my work. I don't know at your work or not they do this, but we have a very tight security. We have like people's social security numbers on file, like
Mm-hmm.
hundreds of thousands of them. And so like everything is really tight security. So outside emails, external emails are always heavily regarded, and they send us these fake emails, like phishing emails, just to make sure we're on our toes and we're not allowing stuff to get in. I got one earlier today, and it looks so legit. It looked like a FedEx thing. It was like your
Mm-hmm.
package is here, click here, whatever. But I knew it was fake because I hadn't ordered anything. So getting in through the birthday card like they did is like genius. And I don't know why Aqua hasn't seen that, because that would be like the easiest thing for them to do, is like to send me an email from Caleb and it's like, check out this dumb meme. And I would check out the dumb meme, because, that's the failure in the system, is like when you see like an Amazon thing, you're like, oh, that logo doesn't look quite right. But when it's like from your mother or from somebody you always communicate with, absolutely. That was so smart to find that card and to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Other than that, the thing I had to say about social engineering, it's kind of like deceptive, like what you have to do in order to social engineer. And the way I thought about it, it's like there's 4 steps to it. It's like, first you assess the other person that you're trying to quote unquote hack. You check out their mannerisms, what kind of mood they're in, check for like, clues like that. Second, you do is you mask your own self. And on top of that, third is you mirror the person. So you appear amenable to them and you're kind of on the same page as them. The fourth most important thing you do is lie. And that's like the thing that is not great about social engineering, because you're making up a story about who you are in order to get access. Like we saw Benjamin doing, he did that twice with Hanne, and he did it with that guard at the gate, more directly, where he was like, yeah, I was a visitor here. Oh, I'm so sad. My dad's going to beat me up. He did all those things. He lied. So that's basically what social engineering is. It's like lying to get access.
Mm-hmm. Well, what do you think about the phrase "man is by default trusting and confiding"? Do you agree with that?
I mean, kind of unfortunately, yeah. It,
Unfortunately.
I mean, because yeah, I can find myself be too trusting, and like, especially if somebody does a very good job of mirroring you and you think they're on the level, they can absolutely like manipulate you or whatever. That was the question, right?
Yeah, well, it's unfortunate that somebody could use that to get past you and, you know, do something bad,
Mm-hmm.
but I guess in a way, I guess knowing that humans want to trust each other. It gives me, I guess it's kind of
Right.
a hopeful statement. It's not.
It is. I'm looking at it from a hacker perspective.
Yeah.
But because I was saying it myself, I am trusting of people, and like I
Yeah.
sometimes feel like I am too trusting and overlook people's flaws. And it's like recent times, what with current and past presidents, COVID, and Black Lives Matter movement, I've learned things about people that are close to me that really don't want to know, because I've trusted them and I felt like I was on the level with them all my life. And then I find out with these 4 incidences that, like, wow, I really misjudged you for a long time. So yeah, I'm very trusting in people, and sometimes it can get the best of me, I suppose.
Yeah. No, I mean, it is kind of far-fetched to think. I mean, obviously it happens, but I'm saying these 4 guys went to this humongous dumpster and spent all that time looking through garbage to
Mm-hmm.
find this birthday card so they could
Mm-hmm.
figure out which woman likes cats. I mean, in a way it's a little far-fetched. I mean, it's
But
kind of one of those things.
the name is important and all that stuff, the address, the name, etc. Because they got the granddaughter's name out of that. Otherwise, they would not have that info and able to fool that woman.
Hmm. Well,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
yeah,
I'm
I
sorry.
mean, yeah. I I didn't quite get, I wasn't sure exactly what they were looking for, but I know they were trying to get access to this one particular building. So I don't understand how they would have gotten all that out of a birthday card, but it doesn't matter. I guess the idea is, because I had heard of social engineering used in different capacities than just trying to break break into something or use it's like flaw or understanding people, but other people sometimes use it like when they do, how some people have a whole channel dedicated to a prank. Like they're gonna
Mm-hmm.
put a dollar bill on a string, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
and see who'll pick up the dollar bill, or
Mm-hmm.
and or they might glue money to a sidewalk and see how long the person tries to pick it up.
Sure.
And some people call that social engineering because they're like making something happen. They're engineering a situation. So I've heard people use
Oh.
it in that way too. But I guess I didn't think about this because
Huh.
they, when we do you talked about training at work, and we did the same exact thing. And like I got a fake sandwich not too long ago where it was like, you won a sandwich or something, a discount on a sandwich.
Mm.
And when there was a phishing, we can like click a thing that says mark it as phishing
Mm-hmm.
now instead of having to send it to abuse. And
Yes.
when I clicked it, it says, "Congratulations, this was
Good
a phishing
job.
attempt." Yeah. And then if you don't, then it says, "You'll now be assigned you'll now be assigned
Training or
training." And I mean, that happened to me twice, and I was like, but I was thinking these attempts are much better than a usual hacker would do. But I thought I deserved my sandwich. Dang it! So like so it was just interesting that they were talking about something I have to keep doing every 6 months. I get assigned a training, and they say like, you are the security person. You're the main line of defense at work.
That's exactly
Because
right.
yeah, if a person's going to get in, it's going to be because somebody wasn't cautious and getting past, you are the security wall and all that. So it's interesting to think about, and I was impressed that they brought that up. It wasn't just about being able to do things in a computer. You had to get out of your bubble and go talk to somebody. Although he didn't have enough time to assess whether that man at the gate would be a softie, that knowing his dad might beat him.
That's true. That was for the script, I suppose. The guy had to get from point A to point B.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do. I thought something that I lost my train of thought after we talked about the gate guard. Bye bye. Okay.
Well, we're going to talk about some reviews
Okay.
of the movie, but before we go into that, I did want to mention one other piece of hot trivia that's for our dark friends. So Martha and Magnus are watching this movie in episode 1.9 of Dark.
What part of the movie can you see on the screen?
When he's doing the magic trick.
Of course, in the car, or like, wow, that's awesome.
In the first scene, not the one in the car.
Okay.
It's when Francesca is up in Magnus's bedroom, and then she comes down, and Marta's on the couch with her sweatshirt pulled over her legs, and Marta's like, Francesca, and she says Marta, and then leaves, and then Magnus comes down and says some things you just want to keep to yourself.
Yes, I know the scene.
They're watching this movie on the
Okay.
screens. I thought that was cool.
That's super cool. And yeah, let's give a shout out to hoodies. I mean, speaking of those hoodies,
we should have both been wearing hoodies tonight.
I mean, if you're in a hacker film, you got to have a hoodie. They're assigned, like, as soon as you learn your first line of code, you like get your first black hoodie, and then you're good to go. So I don't know. I had to bring
obviously
that up.
You need a mask as well now at this point.
Right. Sure. That was very V for Vendetta, in my opinion. I thought there was a little bit of that in there.
So you going to share some reviews with us? Some critic reviews, Steve?
Sure. Yeah, I found a couple fun ones. Here's one from her name is Prairie Miller. She's from the website Critical Women. She says, a sort of Wiki Freaks noir cyber thriller involving hacker geeks high on Ritalin, a sour female spy with a malfunctioning uterus, multiple hacker wars that may have confounded even Julian Assange, and something to do with 4 lost cubes of sugar. That was what her review says. She gave it a bad review. She didn't like it. I thought it was very clever. I like that. Here is another one from Real Film Reviews. This is a fellow named David Newsayer. He says, this is the only, I wrote this down. This is the only negative review that I could find on Rotten Tomatoes, even though he had some positive things to say. So this is the negative review I got from them. It says fast-paced yet hopelessly generic. There's nothing especially fresh or innovative about Who I Am, but filmmaker Baran Bo Odar initially compensates for this familiarity by infusing the narrative with an energetic, fast-paced feel. With the movie's relatively watchable vibe, that sounds nice, relatively watchable vibe perpetrated by a handful of admittedly engrossing sequences. This guy's really giving it up. Including a protagonist's attack on a white supremacy rally, Odar's pervasively slick sensibilities, perhaps inevitably, do begin to grow tiresome past a certain point. So yeah, I kind of agree with David Nosar in some of those respects. And then this last one is one that I pulled from your pals over there at Letterboxd, because this is basically how I feel about the movie. It's good, but it's not great. There you go. Those are the 3 reviews that I pulled. Did you pull any reviews?
I guess there weren't that many critic reviews.
Did you get the same ones?
No, but I didn't know you were going to go to Letterboxd. Okay, so KO, I have a review from KO. It says, you want to be Fight Club so badly, KKKK, 1/2 star. Lisa.
Wait, 1/2 star is all they gave it?
Yeah.
That's lame. Yes, they want to be Fight Club, but give them more credit than that.
There were a lot of people giving 1/2 star because they were just like, this is such a copycat of Fight Club, so I did this to represent all those people.
That's lame. Okay.
This one is from Lisa. This blank was a piece of trash, a mix of The Purge, Split, The Anonymous stuff, and how's it called? V for Vendetta and Mr. Robot. This movie had nothing original about it. And on top of it, screw it. This movie isn't worth getting any more of my attention. Watch at your own risk. Also, 1/2 star. All right. Now we have Farouk887. You are reading that right now, and you might be thinking, finally, I didn't copy the whole, that's why it says you are reading that right now, because I didn't copy the whole review. they wrote some stuff about the movie that sounded pretty good. And then
Okay.
they say, finally, a mid-budget genre movie in the German market that feels like a breath of fresh air in the swamp of mediocre comedies. It promises thrills, suspense, and is easily on the same level as the best Hollywood movies. A person who actually believes that is partly right. You get a movie that feels visually dark, dirty, and mechanical that complements the clinical dialogue perfectly. The Darknet is visualized beautifully as a crowded and claustrophobic subway where people familiar and unfamiliar with the internet realize they never exactly know who to trust and what could lie behind the next corner. Sadly, these aspects do not lift up this movie any higher than an average thriller. The rest is too superficial. That goes from the characters to the themes of the film and its inspirations. With Benjamin, we have a main character who is so passive that that not even the side characters could tell you much about him. It almost comes across as bad comedy when you see the romantic scenes between him and Marie. The dialogue wants to sound natural, as if they clearly have great chemistry and that we totally see them as a good shy couple, but it just does not work and comes up so irregularly that this plot point could just have been disposed of. 1.5 stars.
No. Well, at least you give it 1.5 stars. It's better than that half-star bull crap.
All right, and I've got 2 more.
Okay.
Okay, this is a 3-star review from a user named Warp. Nice and smooth cyber thriller with decent cinematography, some banging songs, and a few good twists in the story. Due to the extremely fast pace, the few improbabilities are less noticeable. The end is remarkably unlikely, of the order of magnitude too good to be true. Still, quite a nice watch that absolutely never bores.
Every movie ending is too good to be true. Come on, man.
And then we have Fred, 4 stars. This was the highest review I could read. That all the 5-star ones were in German, so I couldn't. I mean, and I could have translated them, but I didn't want to. I was too lazy.
We're American.
All right. This also impressively and successfully pulls off its metaphorical interpretations of what it's like to be thoroughly enmeshed in your life on the internet. One of the riskiest storytelling devices out there, mind you. Just about every beat of both of those sequences, and the overarching machine sings as it hurtles forward. Between the fast style, clever surprises, and satisfying payoffs, this is one thriller I enthusiastically recommend. Just remember to keep a mental eye on the recurring nobody thread throughout this, because once it's all said and hacked, it's nothing short of a brilliant thread to hang it all on. P.S. Michael Combs' score echoes familiar Reznor and Ross sounds, and I will take it because when it comes to those two geniuses, the thirst is always real.
Thirst is real. That's a nice twist.
And I was thinking whenever Marie comes on the screen, the little theme they play did sound very much like the Social Network score, the main score that everybody thinks about, the ding da dum dum da dum. It did sound a lot like that Social Network song. So
Okay. Out of all the things that bothered me about this movie, that did not bother me at all. Like the love story aspect. I thought it was fine. Thought their chemistry. Personally, I'm debating this person who left the review, but I thought their whole chemistry thing was fine. I liked it. I liked what she brought to it because she's the one who came up with the idea about the schizophrenia. So kudos, Marie.
I did want to share one other thing that was a reaction, which is I watched the press conference at a Canadian film festival. Now, I don't know if it was where the movie debuted. Maybe it was, but this is when it debuted in Canada. If you ever want proof, and I'll find a link to this to share with people for afterwards. But if you ever want to get a taste for how horrible a press conference can be for a director, this is one. So first of all, one person asked the question, why did you film this in Canada? And he's like, I didn't. I
Yeah,
filmed it
Berlin,
in
buddy.
Berlin. Yes. And then I guess he was asked the question a lot, why did you choose these actors to play in your movie? And I saw several interviews and he'd made the same joke every time. So it must have been a question that kind of annoyed him. But he said, I just I have a roulette wheel and I just spin it and let decide that way. So
Good answer.
and then they asked the four guys, you guys seem really close in the movie. So did you do anything together to prepare to show that? And the guy that played Paul said, no.
All right. It's typical Paul. Come on.
Yeah, it was just the questions. It's like these are like yes or no questions. And somebody, I saw it was a different one, but the guy says, the interviewer said, "Did you read any books about hacking to prepare?" It's like that's a really bad question because what if you didn't? What if you didn't read anything? Then you're just like, nope, didn't read a thing, and it makes you look really stupid. So I mean, there's other ways you can ask questions like that. You know, how did you portray a hacker? How did you prepare to portray a hacker? That way they can share what they did and it doesn't yeah, but then the last question I will mention that was funny is they asked him, so is this which is such and again, it's a bad question. Were you inspired by Fight Club to write this? And Baron says, "What's Fight Club?" And of course he's being ridiculous. He's like, "Yeah, there's a Fight Club poster in the movie." So obviously,
Yeah. And
but I
Steve
mean,
Barnes found 6 parallels.
yeah, but directors don't want to talk about how, that they may or may not have copied this other movie. It's like they want to talk
Exactly.
about their vision. So I just want to say for our viewers, don't ever ask an artist of any kind, whether it's a writer, a film director, a TV show producer, do not ask them, were you inspired by X movie? Because it's kind of an insult.
Maybe you can phrase that like, I'm a fan of such and such, and I feel like maybe it was inspired by this. Or I don't know. Not even do that. Don't even do that. Lindsay's right. Just leave it alone.
It's just a bad question. But all right. Well, Steve,
Mm-hmm.
we've come to all the end of all the notes and things I wanted to discuss, but I don't
Mm-mm.
want to leave anything before
Mm-hmm.
I turn it over to you. So, are there any
Mm-hmm.
topics you wanted to discuss?
Mm-hmm. So this is gonna be a real easy one here. I'm gonna ask you 2 things. And this is gonna be a this or that game. And I'm gonna say
Okay.
2 things, and you have to choose one. One stays, one goes. First
Okay.
question: zip up or pullover hoodie?
The one that would go would be the pullover.
Okay, so you prefer the zip up.
I prefer the zip up. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, let's you're gonna say the one that's gonna you're gonna say that one's gotta go, that one's gone. Okay. Which one's gone? Which one do you hate the most? Fight Club or Mr. Robot?
Which one I hate the most? I say
Get rid
Mr.
of it.
Robot.
Get out of here, Mr. Robot. Who's leaving? Anonymous or Edward Snowden?
Who's anonymous?
He's that hacker group that always exposes political and military secrets, like pretty much for the betterment of people. They hack into systems and like share.
I don't think I know enough to do this one. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
all right, moving on. V for Vendetta or 1984? Which one are you going to kick in the ocean forever?
Probably 1984.
I would have choose that too. Good job. Okay, here's a tough one. Well, this is probably easy, actually. Mac or PC?
Throw out the Mac.
Yes, I like that. Charlotte, sorry. So that means Android or Apple. I'm guessing which one, Android or Apple?
Well, I use an Apple, so goodbye Android.
Mm,
I know that
Okay.
I know I'm like playing both sides here, but
That's exactly what I was thinking. Okay, drunken parties or cocaine parties? One of them's got to go.
cocaine parties.
Okay. Porsche or Lamborghini?
Oh, again, I don't know enough about cars
I don't
to
either.
just. Why'd you pick this question?
Because they're driving around Porsches and Lamborghinis. I say
Mhm.
Lamborghinis out of here. That's what I say.
Mhm.
Okay, got only 3 more.
Okay.
Baking or stovetop? One of them's got to go.
Oh, baking.
Oh, okay. I prefer baking. Who am I or the silence?
I would throw out who am I?
All righty. Okay. Here's the last one. It's a tough one. Okay. Baran Bo Odar or Jantje Friese?
Steve.
One of them's got to go. They're getting divorced.
No,
Who's going?
nope.
Not even going to begin to pick. All right. All right. That's how you're going to play. You don't know enough about them to pick, right? Is that what you're going to say?
They're the perfect match. Never believe anything else.
Oh, okay. All right. I believe that. But that's all I had. Yeah, I just had a this or that game, and that's my wrap end.
Did you
Yeah.
did you understand the donut prank they did in the
Um
movie?
Not really. I understood that he went in and like they have some kind of special at donut shop where if you buy like 12 you get 2 free. So he stole the receipt like grifting, like grift horse. Stole the receipt and like butted in line and was like, I want my 2 donuts from my receipt. And the guy knew it was bullshit. Um I think that's what that was all about. And he only did it just to like show off in front of Benjamin because he didn't want the donuts. He gave the donuts back to the homeless guy. But I think that's what that was all about, like digging in the trash to find a receipt and then using the receipt to get something for free. It's classic grift horse.
What's a grift horse?
Oh, that's the podcast where James and I met. And it's basically like it's a podcast about grifting, which I'm sure you're familiar with grifting, but not like illegal grifting, more grifting like pulling money from unlikely sources like class action lawsuits or taking advantage of like double coupons and things like that. Those are like classic like grifts that any American can do. If you like a grocery store is doing something like if you can find it somewhere else cheaper, we'll beat their price. And then you bring in the flyer and you do your thing. I think that's what he was doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, okay, you found an empty donut box in the trash. You found a receipt and then you came in and it sounded like to me he said, "What is this? Pay for 10 donuts, get 8." And I thought he was saying you shortchanged me 2 donuts. And the guy said something about we ran out of chocolate and then he puts 2 donuts in his box and it looks like there's other donuts already in the box, but I was like, "Where did those donuts come from? You just got those from the trash." So
Yeah,
it was
I
just
think
confusing.
that was a misnomer right there. If there was, I think the whole gist was he got those 2 donuts for free just because
Yeah.
he can socially engineer his way around. Which that wasn't really a good example of being a social engineer because he was kind of just being a jerk.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, he was being a jerk, but yes. All right. Well, how would you answer that question? Which one did you like better, the silence or who am I?
Um, out of the 2, the silence is definitely more rewatchable too, because it's slower paced, and I just enjoy that better, longer shots.
Mhm.
So I don't know. Yeah, I think that that's more my speed. Is it's not that I think that like the silence was so much better, but if you ask me
Mhm.
which type of movie I prefer, it's definitely a movie like The Silence.
Yeah. I agree with that too. So, okay, well, we are going to end this live then. And thanks for joining us, everybody who did. And yeah, I don't know. Should we talk about Sleepless? Let us know what you think. viewers, even if you're watching this after the fact, leave
Right.
a comment in our Facebook and let us know if you'd want to see that. I don't really see it as part of his growth as an artist, but I could be wrong. So if you think we should watch it, let us know.
Sure. Yeah, I kind of feel the same way too.
Mhm.
I'm okay with doing so, but it doesn't look like the type of movie that I'd really be into. But then again, no, I can't say neither did this because I looked at this and I was like, this might be Fight Club. I loved Fight Club. Um, so maybe that's why I like parts of this movie, is it reminded me of some of that. Um, but yeah, I'm willing to check out some Jamie Foxx
Mhm.
live from the foxhole. That was hilarious back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, other things we could do is it'd be great to get more interviews. Of course, we'd love to do that.
Yeah,
And then we could always watch some interviews of Bo and Jantje and talk about those just as a talking point.
that's right.
So those are a couple of ideas, but yeah, doing lives are pretty fun, especially if we get Rat Man left, but in the beginning he was there, so it's kind of fun to get to talk to people.
Yeah. I actually wouldn't mind. I'll throw this out there too. And let us know in any way. Because you might be hearing this on a podcast later on. You might be hearing it from Lindsay or from me. Let us know on Instagram. I don't know. Just let us know if you think it'd be a good idea to do like a watch along, because I thought that might be an
Mm,
interesting thing to do, because we have this platform. And I know that like over on Twitch, it's very easy just to, watch something and then we can make comments over time. You won't be able to see our faces, but we'll all be watching the same thing on the screen and we can talk about it and put it in the chat. I thought that might be something interesting we could do. Could even do it with Dark itself. We could all watch Dark starting season 1, episode 1, and just do that like every, X time, and everybody just tune in or not tune in and just get in the chat. I think
mhm.
that might be a fun idea. Who knows?
Yeah. You'll be in charge of that, Steve.
The
'Cause
dark
it
Twitch channel. That,
'cause
could be
it
fun. I don't know. Who knows?
Alright, well, that's all for this evening, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, Steve, and
Thank you, Lindsay.
yeah.
Thank you, Mom, for watching too. Yes, if you did. And Lindsay's mom, thank you too.
Alright, well, bye-bye, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye.